Saturday, August 10th, the Trigon travels to its home in South Florida and lands once again inside the Charles F. Dodge Center for BYB 29. Brawl in the Pines 3. BYB Light Heavyweight Champion Cub the Savage Hawkins looks to defend his title against the Legacy of God, Gregory Cisneros. Super middleweight title contenders Robert Cerna and Ryan Jet collide, plus Miami's own Robert Durant Jr. and Yuli Diaz look to bring their hometown crowd to its feet. Catch these great fights and much more. Visit BYBExtreme.com for tickets and information.
Welcome to the Original Fighter's Voice. I'm your host, Don Mcguire. Man, I can't believe how fortunate and how blessed I am, time and time again, to have the one and only, the legendary Hall of Famer, my brother, Mr. Burt Watson. How you doing, baby?
Man, I'm trying to make it, baby. How about yourself, sir? How you feeling?
I'm trying to make it, brother, just like you. And
okay.
Just like my brother from Drayton, Canada says, good afternoon. Tremendous brother of mine, Brian Halderson. You know, I'm transparent, and I hope you don't mind. You know, Mr. Burt kind of got on me a little bit, you know, and so did Mike Vasquez. A lot of people in the industry have gotten on me because I'm only 2 weeks out from surgery today. And what I had to go through was horrific, but you know, the show isn't about me. And you know what, the reason I brought it up is because the world doesn't stop. My grandfather taught me the world doesn't stop for you. You create responsibility, you take care of your responsibility. And the only way to move forward in life anyway is to get up. So Burt, the book is out. How's it feel, baby?
Oh man, feels good. Feels real good. Excited. Had an opportunity to digest it a little bit, you know, and sit back and just kind of get some feedback from some people, some friends, people who have bought the book and people who are looking into buying the book, and you know, just getting some feedback. And I'm excited about it, man. It's you know, what can I say? It's that step in my career, you know. That step where I lay all the tracks down, where I at least start to lay the tracks down.
Yeah, I feel you on that. You know, we had a conversation the other day, and I think it's not the first time you've ever paid me a compliment, but I think it's a compliment that truly sat in my heart. And you told me that not only did I build my plate right, but I stacked it high. You know, coming from a man of your character, your intellect, and respect to the sport, I've never been paid a greater compliment. You know, I tell people, and I've told people my whole life, that I look at Burt Watson as a mentor. I ask Burt Watson for advice. Burt Watson always gives me advice. What is it about Burt Watson that has so many of us come to you, cling to you, get a greater understanding? I mean, I know you're older than us, and I don't want to put it like that, but
yeah. And just had a birthday.
Hey, and happy birthday on that, brother. But you came from a young man on the Sweet Science with Smokin' Joe Frazier, all the way up to the Babysitter of the Stars, and you did countless things in between. And I don't want to degrade you in any manner, because you've done more than 20 of us in this industry can ever do at one time. And we always, all of us all talk about it. We always say, how did Burt Watson get the energy to do what he does? But Burt, how inspiring was it for you to finally put your words to paper?
You know, it was inspiring to a point where I was excited to actually, you know, I was given the concept. You know, a couple of people came at me, Joel Tracy and Pastor Lydell Atkins came at me, because I'm looking to do public speaking. And it was suggested to me that, it's good to do your public speaking and motivational speaking, but when you do that, you should leave something behind, meaning the book. So that was the tracks that were laid for me to start to sit down and put thoughts to paper. And I got with someone. I got with a young lady by the name of Dee Lockett out of Detroit, and we started phone conversations and literally putting pen to paper. And I started to think a little bit, and I started to think about the things that the road I've traveled, the people I've met, the young people I've met, and initially what my mindset was at the beginning of my career. And that was mindset, game plan, and commitment. Those were the three things that from the beginning of my career, I was looking to instill in people that I worked with or people that I were, around or had access to. And I had to figure out how to translate that without being aggressive, offensive, and without making someone feel that I was being disrespectful.
Amen.
And that's kind of the way it turned out. It turned out to be that. And as I sat down and started putting my journey on paper and started putting it in this book, it was definitely something that I sat back and could see the tracks that I had laid and the tracks that I was trying to lay, whether it was working or not. And it felt good. And I could see it working a little, and we started going on, and I started giving a little more about some of my experiences, my experience with Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, and Layla, and the transition into MMA with George and Connor, and and Rampage, and just all the things that I went through within that time frame. And it's been quite the journey, and it's even been more so to sit down and look at it from this point of view and put it on paper.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a journey.
Remember what you just said, okay? Most of what you said affiliates and assimilates you with the mixed martial arts world, in a short paraphrase. But we're going to do something a little bit different.
Okay.
Me and you had a conversation the other day.
One of many.
Oh yeah, it's one of many. We're friends, so you're my brother, you're my family. But I like making special memories in people's lives. So with that being said, I'm going to do something that you didn't even know about.
Are you kidding me?
No, sir.
Mr. Burt Watson.
Wow. Wow.
I'm sitting here listening to you. Mindset, game plan, and commitment. Those are some jewels right there, sir.
Wow.
Those are some jewels.
How long has it been, my brother?
It's been forever, sir. But guess what? The love doesn't change. It hasn't dissipated at all. The respect, and actually, I'm still the student listening. You just in these 10 minutes of me listening, I'm like sitting here enthralled and inspired. And I just finished coming from doing what I do, and listening to you has just been immensely helpful. Listen,
wow.
Brother Don brought you up to me and said the things that you said, very kind things. And I said, I have to find a way to just acknowledge you and
wow.
Convey my immense respect and love for you. No matter what the amount of time, the distance, and whatever, the love never dissipates. the respect never dissipates, and everything that you receive is deserved, and it is still coming, sir. It is still
Wow.
coming. You
Wow.
you just proved it right now. The fluidity of what you just expressed, the message, the recipes, it's still coming, sir. Just open your arms, open your eyes, open your ears. It is coming, and just let it come in overflowing fashion. It's well deserved.
I am talking to you, Paul, and my mind is going 1,000 miles an hour back that way because
Yes,
I can, man, it is so awesome to see you, my brother, and the memories and
Yes.
and the time we've shared
Yes.
in this world of combat sports,
Amen.
you know, and obviously, the things that I said that I'm trying to convey, and I've always tried to convey, they obviously were working a little bit.
Yes,
Because you sound like somewhere along the line, I instilled that in you.
yes, sir.
Maybe not specifically that way, but it was always those things.
Yes, sir.
You know, and you know, professional athletes in combat sports, you know, it's the process, it's getting ready to perform in the process of preparation.
Amen.
And I always knew that.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys always knew that, but you know what? You guys expressed it a little different.
Right.
You know, you did it in your training, you did it in the people you put around you. You did it the time you showed up for a fight, that your workout rooms were right. All those things were incorporated in, you know, getting ready to perform in the process of preparation. It was, to me, to make sure that that mindset and that game plan, and I hate to keep expressing the commitment, was there from me so that you guys would travel that road with me.
Yes.
And man, I am so honored to. I very seldom get lost for words, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering, this is the former IBF world champion motivational speaker, Paul the Ultimate Vaden, my brother, my family member, one of the most tremendous legends in the sweet science. You know, the other day I was talking with Burt, and he had mentioned, you know, I just told him I just got off the phone with Paul, and he said, "Man, I'd love to talk to Paul and some words for exchange." And I said, "Bro, I can't give out his number." I said, "I don't give out numbers." But then it clicked in my heart. I already knew Burt was coming on. So I called Paul and I said, "Hey, bro, you need to come on."
I am trying in my head to remember the last fight of yours I worked, or the last time. And it's such a fog. and man, oh man, God.
It's been a minute.
And you look good, my brother. I see that smile on your face. You know, this sport has a way of putting mileage on you. Okay.
Yeah. That's true.
And you don't look like you fell off the cart at all, baby.
Oh, you're very kind. I've been very blessed. Thank you. I've been very blessed. Look,
awesome.
I wanted to come in. I don't want to get in the way of this. I wanted to say hello in this fashion. Please give Mr. Burt Watson my information, Brother Don. So
100%.
Connect and yeah. I look forward to letting it shine with you, talking and still receiving the lessons, because I'm a forever student. So always.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Paul. Thank you. God bless you too. Thank you. Love you too, baby. Wow. Wow.
I love you, my brother.
Man, what a surprise.
Yeah, let me
Well, you cease to amaze me. That was wow.
Hey, baby. Family take care of family.
Man. That just kind of, and he was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, when I started IBF and man, Bob Lee, I think Bob Lee was the head of the IBF at the time.
Yes, sir.
Was it Bob Lee?
Yeah, I think it was Bob.
I think it was Mr. Bob Lee, and before him, I forgot the young lady, or after. Man, oh man! Thank you, my brother. That was an awesome surprise, man. That was definitely.
Family.
And he said the one thing he said he heard from me what he's always heard, and man, that meant the world to me, because that's what I'm trying to do in that book, and that's what I say. You know, you say it without saying it, and it obviously. I always try to make sure that people around me had a comfort level with me first, because if they had a comfort level with me, then they got a comfort level with the things that I said and what I said, and they found that comfort level in whatever it was that I said. But they had to get a comfort level in me first, so I always tried to do that first, and then I laid that track with everything else. And man, wow, I'm very, very appreciative of this road and you and the I don't know what to say, bro. I'm dying.
Well, you know,
You got me.
everybody. Hey, but you know, that's what life is about. Everybody's always trying to have the bigger finger, or have more statute. When in reality, we should just all come together, sit at the same table, eat the same bread.
Yes.
But the world isn't like that. But if I could take a moment out of my day and call a former IBF world champion that meant something to you on your walk and bring him on my show so he can pay his gratitude,
Wow.
I'm going to do it in a heartbeat. And here's something that's going to trip you out. And I will, if it's okay with you, I'll exchange your guys' numbers. But Paul's a motivational speaker. Paul does that for a living.
Wow.
And he helps with troubled youth. He does counseling. Tremendous man.
He is definitely
So
somebody I need to speak to. Yes, that's because I am new at this and trying to get my feet wet, but at the same time, I got a message to deliver, and I got a message to deliver that athletes and young men, young women can take throughout their career. Because the correlation between sports and life is so stark. It's unbelievable. The same things you need to achieve success in sports are the same things you need to achieve success in life. A lot of people don't chew that up the same way, but it's definitely 100%. And that's the lesson that I try to give. That's the message that I try to deliver. And that's the information that I try to disseminate to everybody when I speak to them. Everybody. And I'm preaching now, but man, you got me fired up.
Well, yeah. The other day, before I get to some of these comments, the other day you also paid me a tremendous compliment. Like I said, you told me I built my plate right.
Yes.
Yeah, I built my plate right, and I didn't share a damn thing with anybody off my plate. I went to work, did what I was supposed to do, packed my stuff up, went home. And I'm very open, so I'm going to be open with you and the listeners.
Yes.
Some of them already know. They say strive to be the best. They say, work your butt off to get to the top. Do it, but don't expect it to be a fun-filled, exciting adventure on many levels. It is with the athletes, it is with the promotions, but the envy of life, which I perceived as a momentary lapse of judgment. When you're an individual like me, you care about people, you want to see the best for everybody. I got in this business to help people, not to hurt people. And you get to the very top where Mr. Burt Watson and myself are, and you find out real quick who's been there for you, who cares for you, and who is still going to be there for you.
100%, baby.
And you know that quote that says 999.9% of the people on your social media are there to see you fall. They're there to see you fail just so they can laugh at you. And only 1% is there to see you succeed. But what do you do when that 1% starts to back away from you because of your success? You have to buck up. You have to become a man. You have to understand it's what you've done. And you can't be ashamed of your accomplishments. And I was privately ashamed of my accomplishments because people of 20, 25, 30 years that called themselves my brother don't talk to me anymore. But in the harsh, stark reality of this world is I earned every step, every ring.
Yes, you did.
Induction. And it's because of you. I followed your footsteps, bro. I watched you. I paid attention to you. I learned from you. You don't become Burt Watson, the best in the business, by being a jerk off that doesn't do their job. You know, see, a lot of people in this industry think, oh, let's just show up and we're going to go walk around the ring in the cage and we're going to lollygag and have fun and shoot the shit. That ain't work. That ain't what you get paid. No, especially if you're working with him. If you're working with him,
Yeah. Wow.
What do you? How did it make you feel when you became part of that 1%, my brother?
Well, you know, it's one of those things where I always try to be aware of where I am. Not who's around me or who's there, because that changes. You know, everybody says, "Oh, you be aware of your surroundings and be careful of the people around you," and you can't help that. That happens, you know. But what you can, you know, it's like life gives you a series of choices, which also turn into great opportunities. So those series of choices, man, you know, I'm not going to be cliche and say make the right choices, because honestly, if somebody could sit and tell me that they always made the right choice or they always knew what the right choice was, I want to listen. Because
right?
Is it ever the right choice? But I think you need to know that you have choices, and choices also are opportunities. And I know that, and only with the fact that people have accepted some of the things that I have said and some of the things that I say with grace, and accept it as a teaching or a learning moment. That's kind of when you know that you're on the way to succeed, or you're getting your point across, or you're laying the right tracks. 105%.
I feel you. You know, I'm glad I touched your heart today. I'm glad that I was able to. I shocked you, bro. I had to make this work because there was only I only had like a 4-minute window.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. I see very few people from my boxing past.
Well, I love that, because I think more people need to know more about your boxing past. And I got former world champions asking to come on the show with you. So
wow.
They just don't do that, especially Paul Vaden. Paul Vaden don't jump on anybody's show, you know, but he's been a brother of mine for a long time. A brother of mine, Robert Hernandez Jr., a matchmaker out of Colorado, says, writing in your book is power, and the chapters you write is wisdom for the future. Old or not, we keep writing. The book of success. Much respect, Burt. Respect for both you and Don.
Much respect, baby.
And then my brother, he said, awesome, out of Canada when I brought Paul Vaden on. A tremendous young photographer, and he works for Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. and Jr. He was just at the event this last week, and Nate Wren. He says, how's the great Burt Watson, one of boxing's most underrated business managers of all time, the best business manager for Joe Frazier, the best business manager Joe Frazier ever had.
Appreciate that. Wow.
Now
That's
let me
awesome.
ask you a deep question. I know the book has it, but was there a specific reason? Is Burt Watson a lot like me, that you do a job, you let it go, and you don't really much say about it? But why is it that you played such a prevalent role in the sweet science? And I know you touched on it in the book, but why didn't Burt Watson touch on it in real life?
Well, it's because I let my life take me where it wanted me to be, because it was moving so fast. And there were so many things that were happening that I truly didn't understand, Don. Couldn't decipher or couldn't put together. But I knew that I was on a journey that I had to keep going, and I couldn't stop. So I just kind of sat back and let it go, and you don't want to say roll with the punches, no pun intended. But I just kind of I went along with it, and it was a great lesson because it taught me the things I needed to teach. It taught me the things that I needed to know, and working with professional athletes or young adults is a task, and it's not something that you just kind of just run through and not pay attention to the moves that you're making along the way. Because if you got 9 people in the room, I can guarantee you 8.5 of them are listening.
Yep.
They are definitely now, whether they digest what you said or not, but they're all listening. And out of that 8 that are listening, they're going to have 8 different opinions.
Yep.
Period. And you said one thing, the same way, but they're going to get 8 different opinions of it.
Yeah,
So,
and it's sad. It really is, because.
But that's the way it is, and it's people like yourself and this platform that you have, that you use, and people only come on your show or agree to do like what Paul did because of the person that you are, and because of the platform that you have and the presentation of your platform. It's not everybody has the presentation that you have, or this presentation for a platform that can express a person's viewpoint through. It's like your show is, and I don't know how the heck you came up with that, the original fighter's voice, but you hit it right on the head, baby. Right on the head.
Well, you know how you say you got to protect yourself. I came out. Well, I've done radio for 24 years, but when I came out with this show in 2015, somebody tried to copy my show name, and so I was like, nah, and so you know how we have to do. I had to go by every domain, every .com, everything that you can, because they was trying to steal my name, and on one of them I couldn't get through, and I said, you know what? They want to call themselves the Fighter's Voice because they had contacted me, and I allowed them to be a part of my network.
Right,
And then
right.
they stabbed me in the back. And, you know, and I had a word with BJ Penn because he was allowing that show to be on his network. And that show is no longer on his network because me and BJ go back a little bit. But,
Right.
and then I sat there and I said, you know what? It's got to be the original. And people always ask me how I came up with that name. I said, well, because it's not my voice that the people want to hear, it's the fighter's voice. And the reason I do my platform the way I do, I can go and share everything that everybody already knows. But what am I gaining? I want to know. I looked at it as, if I wasn't in the sport, what would I want to know? I would want to know how that woman, how that man, the adversity, the triumphs, the path that got them there, that built them. I want to know how they became a world champion, how they became a legend, how they became that amateur that got their first pro debut. And I want to know what it meant to them, because only then is it relevant. You know, people don't. Now listen, to that. Only then is it relevant. I could go post a video all day long and people are going to watch a minute and a half, 2 minutes of someone's life story. But if I have you on here and I'm sharing your life story, they're not hearing it from my mouth. They're hearing it from yours. It vindicates
Absolutely.
what they already see in the public domain, because it's coming from the private domain, from the person themselves. I love the way I do my show, and I always tell people my show's not for everybody, because I touch on a vast array of topics, but I pay for my show. So yesterday I got a phone call and a gentleman called me. He said, "Man, your show is my most favorite show ever." And I said, "Why is that?" He said, "You just look at the guest, the quality of guests." And he said, "I'm not just talking here and there." He said, "I'm talking all the way since the beginning." He says, "Ain't nobody can duplicate that, what you do." And I get it. I've worked in 4 different genres in this industry. I'm inducted into 4 different Hall of Fames or genres in this industry. I just received my 8th Hall of Fame induction. And yeah, I don't know, I always get this mixed up, but there's my last one. That's the National Boxing Hall of Fame. But do you mind if I share what's happening in December?
No.
Me and my brother, Mr. Burt Watson, we're going to be inducted into the MMA Hall of Fame. It's a South African International Hall of Fame in Dallas, Texas, on December 9th. And man, that made my life complete, bro. It really did. Well, you know who else is going? And with us, Francois Botha, Bill Clancy, Stephen Blair, that guy. There's so many legends going. Joe Cortez. A lot of people going, and it's a hybrid.
Joe Cortez. Wow.
Well, they got boxing and MMA combined, and I think all Hall of Fames should do that. I really do, because I don't like separating. I don't like segregation. If it's a sport, then put them all together. You know, as far as the internationals are concerned, I just look at the one you're in, the International Sports Hall of Fame. That's all sports combined.
Yes.
What at that moment? I remember waking up at 7:30 to a phone call from my brother Burt. Take us through that moment? What did that moment feel like for you, brother?
It was surreal initially, but then it just kind of, International Sports Hall of Fame. That meant all of sports, entirety. You know, not just boxing, not just MMA, not just all of sports. And some of the people that were inducted in the same class as myself, it was a genre across the board, man. You know, professional football, professional basketball. You know, it was definitely, I don't want to say it cemented my legacy, but it told me that I was doing something right and that I was on the right path to something right, you know, and because they just don't put you, that ring you just showed, you know, there's an aura behind that. There's a legacy behind that, legitimacy behind that. And the people that do it respect it and respect those that they put out in front of it. So it was definitely, you know, and that was my first. So it will be one that I will never forget.
Yeah.
And one that I'm very, very proud of. It sits on top of my resume. I'm making room for others. but it sits there, and you know, I'm honored. I'm happy about it, and more so now because it also, as I go through this stage of my career, it validates a lot of what I did.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, it validates. It's like winning the Super Bowl. You know, you got a whole season. Your season's no good till you win the Super Bowl or the World Series or the NBA championship or the Olympics. And getting into the Hall of Fame, that's what it is. It's the Olympics.
You know, you're absolutely right. And, you know, I always, like I said, envy is a momentary lapse of judgment. So I'll let a lot aside. But just to put what Burt said into correlation. Okay, I went in with Evander Holyfield, Winky Wright, Marco Antonio Barrera, Eddie Futch, Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward, Reggie Johnson, Zepeda. I mean, and the list just goes on and on. Samaya Nani, who they did $1 Million Baby off of. They're considering this to be one of the greatest National Boxing Hall of Fame classes or greatest induction classes in the history of boxing. Now, Evander Holyfield hasn't fought in 17 and a half years, and he just went in. So you could take how me, simple little Don, the lowest man on a totem pole, is going, how in the hell did I get here? But Mr. Burt Watson.
17 years.
Yes, sir.
Wow. But you know, it's also one of those things, Don, where you know, we're living in an age where I don't want to say everything has a price, but everything has a value. And nothing from nothing leaves nothing.
Amen.
So, you know, all the things that you get, believe me, they came at a cost. You may not know or may not realize the cost that it came, but whatever the cost was, you paid it. That's why you're recognized and you're being recognized. And that's one of the things that I am excited about when it comes to that book back there. And that's a shameless plug for me about my book, Being Burt Watson.
No,
but it, you know what? It's one of those, you know, the only thing that I am not, I don't want to, you don't regret things, but I don't have enough time or enough space to put all of Burt Watson in that book.
Oh, hell no. We couldn't even put Jackson, Mississippi in that book.
I'm telling you, when I sat down and started to put this book together, the things I had to leave out or the things I couldn't put in, and not couldn't, it was too much. It was a lot, but it also gave me room for other things. I don't want to say, but it gave me room for other things. So that when I sit down again and I do something like this, and I'm going to stick to that, being Burt Watson, written by Burt Watson. I'm going to stick to that because it is my heart. It is from my heart. And I open that book with my heart, being my mom and my family and my children and my grandkids. And then I jump into the people that shaped my career, that took me through things that there's no way anybody could have told me in 1965 that I would one day sit in a room with Smokin' Joe Frazier and give him directions on what we had to do next. Or Muhammad Ali, or Conor McGregor, or to see things go the way they did with boxing and MMA and the transition from boxing to MMA, and to see how women were accepted and had to navigate through combat sports, and how harder they had to work to establish a place in combat sports. I've seen all those things, man, and what a blessing to be able to see those things and now talk about them.
Yes, sir. Real quick, Steve Schroeder, yes, sir, we are live. And he said, Burt, I got your book.
My man. Appreciate that.
I want all of my friends, Burt does Instagram more than he does Facebook. I do Facebook more than I do Instagram. So the other day I told Burt to tag me in something on Facebook so I can help get it out there that much further.
And I did. Did you see it?
I hadn't seen it yet. Did you tag Donald Mcguire or Don Mcguire? Because it should be Don McGuire. And it's a picture of me and Vander Holyfield.
I just saw Don McGuire, but I'm going to go back and I can tag you. Because I'm going to put a separate post tomorrow again, and I'm going to tag you. Yes, sir. But I did. I put Don McGuire on there because when you put it in, I think that's what comes up.
Yeah, it should. We're going to get that because
There's two.
There's a Donald McGuire, which is my backup page, and then there's Don McGuire, which is my main page.
With Evander Holyfield on it?
Yes, sir. Me and Evander Holyfield.
Okay.
And then I believe my backdrop, I don't know. Let me look. So I don't, is me and Yaki Lopez. The profile picture is me and Evander Holyfield, and then my backdrop's me and
Indian, Yaki Red.
Hey, brother, these people... You take me back to 1979, 78, 79, Matthew Saad, Muhammad, Yaki Lopez. That was boxing. What does Burt Watson call the sport today? Not to put you on the spot.
Well, you know what? Let me say what I've seen, and I stopped trying to put a name on what I see happening. But I'll tell you what I do see. Is that I see a new generation coming into the sport of boxing and redesigning the format of boxing and redesigning the presentation of boxing. Because boxing, Don, has gotten some pretty bad punches, no pun intended. Yeah. I was disappointed when HBO dropped its program. I was disappointed when Showtime dropped its program. I was disappointed when USA Today dropped its program. And those were pretty, those were blows that took the sport kind of out of the public limelight, which I was truly disappointed. and there's no one trying to put it back in today or do it. But I do see, and I have nothing against. I didn't want to sit on here and mention, but hey, what the hell? I have nothing against what I see this young man, Jake Paul, and guys like that are doing. Because regardless of how you do it, as long as you do it and you got food on the stove, somebody's going to eat.
Yeah. Here's
And
something to add to that.
That's what's happening. You know, regardless of how you cook it, you know, everybody can't cook chitlins. Everybody can't cook fish and grits. But regardless of how you cook it, as long as you cook a meal, and that's what's happening to boxing. The meal's still being cooked, but it's being cooked a little different. But you know what? It's the only way that people are going to get a taste of it. And people are getting a taste of it. It may not be what it used to be. You know, Triple G, Canelo, those guys, you know, they may not be holding it up as much as it should be, and they need help. And quite frankly, the media, the networks involved are not putting out that help. And now we live in an age with streaming and all of the other media outlets that are carrying professional whatever. They got discus throwing now on streaming networks.
They got hobby horse riding. They got girls riding hobby horses. I'm like, what the?
Did you see that? I thought I was the only one in the world that saw that. Running around with a hobby horse, you know, with a horse's head in her hand. But I, you know, and you tell me if you know what you think. But I as long as boxing is getting a platform, I think it's a good platform. When there's no platform, there's going to be no boxing. And right now, that's the only platform it's getting, so they need to leave it alone and roll with the punches. No pun intended.
I love that analogy because I never really looked at it. That's why it's always great to talk to somebody that is a little bit more knowledgeable about. But I have to agree with you. I would rather have some sort of boxing in the United States than have it all go to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Trust me.
Yeah, something's better than nothing.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that because that's what's happening, because that's where the money's coming from. That's where the promotion's coming from. And it's starting to happen. It's not going to totally take it away, but what's happened is that others are seeing an opportunity for a platform and they're using it. Plain and simple.
They are. You know, my adopted grandfather, you know, the man that made me, passed away and wasn't really my blood, but for years I always need somebody to give me advice like you. But anyway, through Randy Commish Gordon, one of New York's best commissioners, I met a gentleman by the name of Artie Lamparella who worked with Billy Costello, you know, Vander, everybody. And he's my adopted grandfather. He says, the great Burt Watson, a true legend. You know,
thank you, sir.
I love my adopted grandfather because the man that taught me the values of my life, I still had him to share him. You know, everybody talks about Burt looked like he 50. I wish my grandpa would have stayed looking like you and I could have shared him with the world. But hey, bro, you don't age. Don't lie. You don't age. Your wife be cooking something good because you don't age, brother.
I just had a birthday.
Yeah, what did you turn, Burt?
75, bruh. I just turned 75 3 days, July 17th. And You take care of your body and your mind, and it'll take care of you. That's about as much as I can say. But I'm blessed, man. I am blessed. I am 75 and I am rolling. And I am gonna roll until the wheels come off. And I'm not worried about the wheels coming off because I know where there's a gas station to get some air in my tires and get this flat fixed. So I'm not I'm not worried about that at all. I'm happy, man. I'm happy. And I always appreciate you and coming on your show, and and the next transition of my life and what I'm doing now, man, it's awesome. It is so awesome, Don.
Yeah, life is beautiful. Like, a lot of people don't understand it. Yeah, it can be crappy, but you can make it better. We have the choice of either leaving it or making it better. And, I'm learning lessons, and I'm 62 years old, and I had gifted Gabriel Green from the UFC on last night. I tell you what, that young man taught me so many lessons in an hour. I'll be learning for a year, bro. But a young man's got a question. This is a young man that I've been working with for almost 7 years. He's with Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. and Jr. He said, I got many more people hating me these last few months. I can't imagine how many more people you guys have had hate you over the last 20 or 30 years. The reason this gentleman says this, he's a 2-time Hall of Famer at the age of 33.
Sure.
And he's understanding, and he deserves it. Now I've been teaching the kid the industry, because you can't take credit for somebody's talent, but you can teach them not to make the mistakes. You could teach them how to work a room, how to network, how not to be a wallflower, how to make things happen. And that's what I did for the kid. And this tremendous young man in almost 7 years has gotten into 2 Hall of Fames. He was just, with Julio in his fight this last weekend at the Jake Paul event, and the world is blowing up for him. But he wants to basically know, can you give him some advice on how to handle this? Because I'm still dealing with this issue myself, because, there's never been an 8-time Hall of Fame photographer in the history of any genre of the sport. So I'm learning myself, like I told you. What advice could you give to both of them?
Nate, you gotta know the difference between hate, envy, and curiosity. Know that there's a difference between those 3. But then also know that they all come with the same face on. And sometimes somebody might envy you, but they come at you like they hate you. Somebody may be curious of you, but they come at you like they're criticizing or being critical of you. And you got to know that all those things work together, and everybody doesn't know how to express them, how to express those things. So you breathe a sigh of relief within yourself and know that hate, envy, and curiosity are all the same in one. And that a lot of people don't know how to explain those things. And your accomplishments are going to fall in one of those categories, regardless. And that's across the board with everybody. So don't feel intimidated by it, or feel depressed by it, or feel that it's a negative. Any attention is good attention. And just accept it. And know that the things that you're doing is the reason that people are paying attention to you and putting you into these Hall of Fames and recognizing your accomplishments. They're not recognizing your accomplishments, my brother, because you've done nothing. Okay? Not at all. Just know that hate, envy, and curiosity have the same face. And oftentimes you don't really identify which is which. But don't get discouraged. Just let it come at you and let it go. And if you're a fighter, come on, bro.
he actually is a professional boxer.
Come on. You know how to get rid of that. Come on. And you know how to get rid of it without taking a punch. That's the best way, the best that I can give to you, as opposed to saying ignore it, but know that it's there and it'll be there always. I am 75 and I still see it and I still hear it, but I've learned to identify it. And you know what? Very, very, very easy, because it's like I say, people are only going to open the door if you knock on it. You knock on that door, they're going to open it. And if you let somebody scratch your surface, they're going to dig a hole in it. Don't do that. Just let it go. Let them have their piece. Let them have their say. But know that it all has the same face. And you yourself has to always achieve, because the very minute you give somebody less than you've been giving them, they're going to recognize that and find something else or another reason to come at you, brother. Trust me.
I'm learning that myself, and like I said, I've lost friends of 25, 30, 35 years out of envy. But, thanks to people like you, Paul Vaden, Steve Ford, James Toney, everybody made me realize that.
My man, James Toney.
He tried to steal my other ring, my martial arts Hall of Fame ring, the one I got, that martial arts Hall of Fame that's 52 years old. He tried to steal my ring, and we got a picture of it. Nate Wren did, and we got a picture. So they put James Toney into that Hall of Fame just so he can get that ring.
Where does Nate live?
In California.
In California. Oh, so he's early. You know what, Nate? You got to know that everybody jumps on that tree and figure they got to climb to the top. But little do you know, the safest place is on the ground.
Amen.
Never forget that, son. You don't have, let them go up there so you can see. Your safest place is on the ground and being you.
I told him that, and because we don't, you don't understand it till it happens to you. And, and like Paul Driscoll says, stay grounded. He also says, hello, Don. Hello, Burt, sir. You're a legend. That's
Larry Paul, Holmes. You know what? Tell Paul Driscoll I have always admired that picture that he uses in his social media.
Well, he's good friends with Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes, actually, I was supposed to be with Larry Holmes right now. He had his golf tournament this weekend and birthday.
Okay.
And I was supposed to be there, but because I had surgery. But Larry said I can go next year, so I'm good with that. I'm good. I'm good with waiting another year because I'm still going to be here. I'm just going to be aged
that picture that Paul uses is a picture from the Champions Forever.
Yeah.
And I've always admired that picture that he uses. I like that.
Well, the reason, remember I asked you for a copy? What it was originally, what I was trying to do was I was going to get it and then try to.
Didn't I send it to you?
Yeah, but it didn't come out very clear. What I was going to do was going to burn it off my phone and make two pictures and send one to Paul and keep one for myself. Because Paul, ever since the first time you came on my show years ago, Paul always said, man, is that real picture in the back? Is that picture? I said, yeah, bro, that's the only one in the world. And then you showed it on that show.
How did I send it to you? Did I send it to you in a text or email?
You just took a screenshot of it and sent it to me in a text.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna try to do it in an email, because I was told that if I sent it in an email, the texture would be a little better, and it would come through a little better. I was told that. I don't know for sure, but I was told that. So I'm gonna try, because I'm gonna make sure that I go on Facebook and get the right Don Mcguire this time so I can tag you in that post. I got to make sure, because that post is up and I could have swore I tagged you.
He also said, tell Burt his book is in the mail coming to my home.
All right.
See, that's one thing I love about the people that watch my show. You know, this is usually early for me, but you know, it's later for you. But I love my show because never in my life did I imagine a podcast but would be worldwide, and I would have such dedicated, tremendous people that watch my show. But you know, it'll grow and grow and grow. And the thing about it is one day somebody asked me, how come all your guests are so great? How come all your guests are so polite and courteous? Because I go with my heart when I do a show. You know, if you go with your heart, you can't go wrong. You know, I've made a couple mistakes. I've had Mayhem Miller on my show. I've had Steve O from Jackass on my show. You live and you learn. But Burt, you look over your shoulder at that book. What does that book? What has that book taught Burt Watson about himself? Because I know it's a rhetorical question and a roundabout question, but you had to go through that, your heart, your mind, your memories, to create that situation on paper for the world to truly understand the value, the meaning, the appreciation from your soul. How hard is that for somebody to take their life and put it into words?
It's not hard if you have the time, the thought process, and the memory to do that. It's not at all. But I'll tell you what has happened more so with this book that I have found, and I see that I have found with this book is the people that have gotten the book and have read it and have gotten out of it exactly what I intended them to get out of it. That more than anything has been for me, you know. And then in the back of the book, I have what's called Burtisms, which are things that half of them I got from my mom, another quarter of them I got from the streets of Philly, and the rest of them I got from people and the young athletes that I've worked with in combat sports over the last 40 years. Wow. That's a long time, baby. That's a long time. And the first thing in here I say is that a bunch of crumbs make a full meal.
I love that, though.
Okay.
You know, because, you know, you and I and a lot of the people that have been in this industry and appreciate it like we do, we're the most giving. And you know why we're the most giving? Because we came up with nothing. We never had nothing. In life, most people don't realize that it's the people that never had nothing that are the most.
And because we mean it. And because we mean it.
Yeah.
And because it's sincere and it's not manufactured. And you're not the person that you are just because you're sitting here on an international worldwide show that everybody watches.
No.
You put yourself into it. And it shows. And that's what counts, baby. Trust me.
Now you could clarify something for, you know, because we get hate, you know, and like at my National Boxing Hall of Fame speech, I thanked the fans, and I told Evander, Sugar, everybody, and Marco Antonio, I said we wouldn't be here, and none of you royalty in the audience would be here if it wasn't for the fans. I said, so first and foremost, we need to pay homage and tribute to the fans.
Yes.
You know, because they're the ones that made us. we wouldn't be here. And see, I'm humble. I don't get a lot of things because I just mind my own business. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't be where I'm at without you. I would, I know I'm great, but you can tell people, have I ever used my handicap as an excuse in this industry?
One would never know it.
Like I said in my speech, I'm not handicapped. I'm handy capable. And most people don't know that I shot most of my career being an amputee. The greatest part of my work came
Wow.
after I
Wow.
lost my leg, so it's a blessing. He says, Don Mcguire, please tell James Toney I'll give him my USA Martial Arts Hall of Fame ring. Hopefully it will at least fit his pinky finger. But you know what? I got a question for you, Burt, because I've always admired you. And everybody, if you've never watched Legend to Legend with the one and only Mr. Burt Watson,
On MMA Junkie, legend to legend, baby.
you missing out. Trust me, you missing out. But okay, now see here where I'm gonna pull some trickery.
Go ahead.
For the last 10 years of my career, I have always wanted on Legend to Legend. But see, now I'm a living legend. I'm going to play these words against you. Now I'm a living legend because I'm the only one to ever do what I've done in the history of combat sports. I may be the lowest man on the totem pole, but there will never be another one. Maybe Nate. I'd like to see Nate surpass me, but there will never be another one that has accomplished what I have. So now that I'm a living legend, will I ever get an opportunity on Mr. Burt Watson's show? And I'll put you on the spot because I can.
Well, no, you didn't put me on the spot because you're sitting on Burt Watson's show right now.
Amen. Amen.
Right now that I'm sitting here with you is our Legends to Legends. But I will say this to you. You have given me food for thought.
Well, I
Food
believe
for thought. Yes, you have.
Nate will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think his name was Theo Lair. He was the only other photographer from the golden era of boxing other than me.
Who?
Theo, I believe it. Hey, Nate, what's his name? Theo Lair? Nate, he'll answer me, but
Wow.
he passed away. So in reality, and here's another thing that most people won't realize, but you can vindicate. Digital cameras didn't come out until 2011, 2010, 2011. I started in 1982. So I shot 3/4 of my career with 35 millimeter.
Wow.
I was there at the end of 83, beginning of 84 when the NABF was created. I'll be at the NABF next month. And a lot of it was my fault, bro, because I want to be like you. I want to be able to not tell my whole story, just part of my story, just enough to keep people interested.
Yeah.
And then drop the real deal like you did, because I got a great man that I'm talking to about finishing it up right now, and hopefully he'll finish my book. But I'm not worried about that right now. I just want to see that become the bestseller on Forbes or whatever the hell they do it on. I want to see that to be the bestseller.
Mine is on Amazon. It's on Amazon now, and all you got to do is go to Amazon.com, and it's there. Being Burt Watson, written by Burt Watson, and my journey was complete when my grandson sent me a picture of him with the book in his hand. That's one of the reasons that I sat down with it. My grandson had it. That was it. That was definitely it.
His name is Theo Earhart.
Okay. I know who that is.
He was the
But
house
he's no
photographer
longer.
for
He's
the.
no longer. Yeah, he's.
Yeah, he passed away.
Yes, yes.
God rest his soul. He started in 1940 and retired in 2005 and died in 2010.
Wow, wow,
I'm
wow.
the only other one left from the golden era. You know, that man would
Wow.
have. See, so I'm teaching you some history today, bro.
You ain't lying.
In,
Wow.
in 1983 at the Crystal Cathedral in the UK, I shot Frank Bruno. You know, so.
Crystal. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I
See,
think the first time I met Frank Bruno, I think it was at the Royal Albert Hall, and it wasn't even a boxing event. It was the first time I met him. Wow.
I think that card was with Mickey Duff and all them back in the day, bro. You know, it was crazy because me and Jack Reese had to correlate some stuff because they couldn't. Well, let's face it, the people that I started working with almost 41 years ago, they're no longer here with us. Don King had to call the Hall of Fame to vindicate me. And thank God that Showtime, HBO, ESPN, and all them keep records because they wrote letters for me. But Don
Wow.
King's the only one that's alive, and he was a baby. He was a baby when I started.
Wow. 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 Wow.
You know,
It's amazing because you talk Don King and Bob Arum are they're the only two original boxing guys. When I was in boxing and when I started, Don King, Bob Arum, Frank Warren came in a little later, but I see Bob Arum still going. Bob Arum got to be 110, I think.
right?
I see Don. I see Don still going, probably close. But wow, bless them. It's amazing
Yeah.
that those guys are still impacting, and that's another reason when you were talking about boxing and one of the things in my heart that does my people like Don King and Bob Arum and Frank Warren. I can't think of who else. I know the Duva family is still going strong, but people like that who have been in boxing and promoted fights since 1970, are still going. And I can guarantee you, if you look it up, Bob Arum, Don King were doing something in 1970.
Oh yeah.
Okay, at a high level, and are still in boxing.
And you know,
What
I
an
don't even.
amazing.
I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I don't even care if you don't like Don King. But if you take Don King out of the picture, you don't have boxing. Not in the way it is now. You
No,
not in the
no,
glory years,
no,
not in
no,
anything.
no,
You
no.
know, but now you mentioned Bob Arum, and I'm going to wrap things up because I already know you know, like Nate Rance says, Don Goosen or Dan Goosen and Don Chagrin and Frank Shaw, but they came a little bit later, Nate.
It came later.
But you talk about Bob Arum. I saw a video today talking about it. It's funny because Bob Arum couldn't stand MMA fighters. He called them bums, called them Nazis, said they were white supremacists in this video that I saw. And the interviewers, it was a young Ariel Helwani. So this was about probably 15, 20 years ago. And he said, but the people in the crowd don't, I mean, the fighters don't have tattoos. The fighters aren't skinheads. He said, but the people in the crowd are, you know, and see, this is how much of a struggle it was even for a gentleman like Mr. Burt Watson. The only way MMA was going to fly because boxing was so dead set against it. And a lot of people didn't want it to happen. But then you get people like Dana White, because people don't even know the true story, man. Like I'll break it real quick. Dana White was Mayweather's bag boy teaching boxing lessons in the back of a gym when he bought the UFC from Art Davie. Art Davie only did one show. And then the Fertitta brothers, their dad said, no, you ain't buying that. They bought it with Dana anyway. The only reason, and this is not politically motivated, I'm just saying this because I want people to understand the history of what the sport is about. You know, the only reason the UFC exists today is because of Donald Trump. He gave them their first venue, their first pay-per-view. Otherwise, there would not be no UFC. Dana begged them.
UFC 30.
Yeah.
UFC 30, very first one, because no one else wanted to give us a venue.
Yep.
When I say us, I'm just talking early on. No one wanted to give the UFC a venue because at the time, and rest his soul, I forgot who the senator was. Maybe it was John McCain, who was dead set against MMA and said it was cockfighting at its worst or highest level. And he was the very first one that gave a venue for MMA. UFC 30 was the very first one. And no one else gave a venue. And that's why it was there.
Yeah, and I started at UFC 3 at the Grady Cole Center in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wow.
I mean, December 12th will be my 41st year. And I'm just sitting there going, it flew by. It don't even feel like 10 years, to be honest with you. But Burt, I want to ask you, go ahead real quick.
No, go ahead. I'm good.
I want to ask you a question because you were revered in boxing and you still are. What was it? Because people can say, "Oh, it's money," and I seen that little interview you did the other day, or reposted where that guy's going, "Tell us why you left the UFC." Well, to be the truthful, Burt told the story on my show many years ago. People just don't want to go listen to shows.
Yeah.
But who was the most mischievous? The one that caused the most headache? Gave you the most problems, but you loved the most, bro. And don't say Nick or Nate Diaz, because which fighter sits most in Burt Watson's heart, but gave you the biggest headache of all?
Wow. Joe Frazier aside, we're talking MMA?
Yes, sir. Boxers are cut from a different cloth.
Yes. Honestly, I can't think of one. Damn. And let me say this to you. Nick Diaz, what's his name? Oh, Mayhem Miller.
Yeah.
Those guys were guys that tried to express themselves and found it easy to express themselves. But none of them were ever totally disrespectful to me as a person or disrespectful to the program that I had in place. I cannot think of one fighter that I had any type of a disagreement with because of the system that I put in place or what I was trying to do, or they gave me a hard time or didn't do what they were supposed to do. Now, they were their own individual people, and there was a time when fighters were a part of the establishment, meaning they did exactly what they were told to do. Then all of a sudden, with MMA, around 2002, they started to become individuals. They started to do things their way. And Dana White got out of the way. He did nothing to deter somebody being themselves. And they were respectful, and they weren't disrespectful. But I honestly, and I've been asked that question before, but I cannot honestly sit and think of one person that I had a hard time with, or that I could say gave me a hard time in my entire 15-year career in MMA. Not one. Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
And if I had one, I could probably say it right off the top of my head. But I can't think.
Only one I ever had was, like Nate Red said, Mayhem Miller would randomly message me and curse me out for no reason at all. When Mayhem got out of prison, I think it was the second time, I got him $90,000 worth of sponsorships because I wanted to give the man a fresh start.
When he got out the second time.
And then he called me and said, "You want an enemy? Too late. You got one." And then it started cascading spiral. And I said, "You want a sponsor? Too late. I took them." He said, "You can't do that." I said, "Call your sponsor, bro." And you know what? I don't blame Mayhem for his. I partially do, but I don't. But when you look at his mother, because his mother talks to me, and you know, his sister's a little thrown off too. But the mother called me and said, "You know, Mayhem, when he was a kid, used to go out early in the morning and climb up in the tree and stay in the tree all day." I said, "Well, why are you mad at Mayhem then? Why didn't you get the man help?" You know, if I was to wake up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning and go outside and see my son in a damn tree, I'm taking you to the doctors, bro. I'm going to go see why you sitting up in the tree all day. But the reason I bring this up is because I think if Mayhem would have had the proper guidance, the proper tools in his handbag, he may have been a more productive member of society. You know, sometimes there's people that always want to ridicule her, but yeah, Mayhem's not the greatest man in the world, and I'll admit that. I know him. I've worked with him. I've done a lot for him. But you know what? He's never really had anybody to back. And so I can't degrade the man. All I could say is the things that we've been through, and you can't blame somebody when it's a problem that was there from childhood.
I'll tell you a funny Mayhem Miller story. I think it was the second fight I worked with him. And he comes up to the holding area and he's standing there. And I walked everybody to the holding area, everybody individually. And I'm standing there and he's standing there and we're waiting for the cue for him to walk, to get on point, to walk to the octagon. And we're standing behind and there's a curtain between us. He left me and got behind that curtain. And I didn't know where the heck Mayhem Miller went. And when he came back from behind that curtain, he had a bag on his head. Now, he was getting ready to walk to the octagon with a bag on his head. And they're telling me he can't do that. So I'm telling Mayhem Miller, you can't do that. I am not going to let you, I cannot let you walk down there with that bag on your head. We had, and this was before, it wasn't a thing where the music had started and he wasn't refusing to go. It wasn't that thing. It was that I caught it and you can't do that. You got to take that bag off his head. The music started and he said, okay, I'll take it off. He took the bag off his head and he had on a damn gas mask. Took the bag off his head and had on a gas mask and he walked to the octagon. I mean, what do you do? I just shook my head. But I've never had any. I've had some private moments with fighters, some personal private moments with things that they were going through in their personal life. I've had those conversations. I had one fighter one night, and I won't mention his name, who I got a call to my room at 1:30 in the morning, and he was downstairs in the lobby headed to the airport to go home because he's got a phone call from somebody about his girl not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And I did everything I could to talk him off that ledge because he was gone. And this was, and he was the main event. So Burt Watson had to get dressed. And I said to him, do me a favor, just do what you got to do. But all I ask you to do is give me time to get dressed and get downstairs and look you in your face. That's all I ask. And he did. And I got downstairs, eye to eye, face to face, and I talked him back into his room. But he was gone. He was gone. But he thought enough to call me, and we were in Vegas. So the ride to the airport was 5-10 minutes. And what he had already done, he had already changed his flight. So all he had to do was get to the airport. And I talked him out of doing that, came back. I got into his room. I went in his room and I sat in his room with him for about an hour. By that time, it was 3:45 in the morning, something crazy. Because he called me at 1:30. And, I'll always remember that. But I've never had a tough time with anyone. Anyone disrespect me. I've never had. I always knew those that when I said things, they didn't like it. I said something to Mike Tyson once that I knew that if I was a little closer to him, I probably wouldn't have said it again. just from that look in the body language I got from him. But luckily I was away from him when I said it. I've not male, female, never. And that respect has always gotten me the best attention that I could get from anyone ever. And that's what I got in that book.
And that's why y'all need to go buy that book. Y'all need to go buy that book.
Being Burt Watson, written by Burt Watson, now on Amazon. Please. I talk about all the little things that I started, that I went with. I can't do all of them, but I did enough of them with the fighters and the guys and some of the stars that I worked with, and a tribute to the things that I think, as I said, mindset, game plan, and commitment. Throughout that book, those are the things that you're going to read through. And those are the things that are going to take you through that book.
You'd be foolish if you don't. I've worked with Burt. I've seen how he's treated fighters. And Mr. Bill Clancy, 5-time Hall of Fame, getting ready to be 6-time Hall of Fame, inducted Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award winner, said, I walked into a room, I saw Mr. Burt. I didn't know who he was. I asked who he was. They said he was Mr. Burt Watson. I said, this man screaming at everybody. They said, bruh, if you don't shut your mouth, you're going to get screamed at too. Mr. Burt Watson don't play. And we all know that, but there's a method to Burt's madness, and he's created some of the greatest iconic walks.
100%. There's a method.
We would not know some of the greatest legends of this sport if it wasn't for Burt Watson. Like he just told the story about the fighter wanted to go home over his girl. If you think that's only one time, that's happened multitudes of times. Man, you gotta grab the man's book, because I've got to spend time with Burt. I get to talk with Burt. I could talk with Burt for 20 hours straight and not even be bored. We already been on the show for an hour and a half.
I think we've done it. I think we did it off the phone, off the air on the phone. I think we've had conversations where I looked at the phone. I'm like, oh, Don, I gotta go, man.
Yeah, but it's because you're real, bro. And I've always walk that path, if I can gain knowledge from somebody, whether
Yes.
they're older or younger, I'm going to utilize that. And you have been the most instrumental part of my walk. I've watched you. You've been my mentor. We worked the back of the house. We
Yeah,
almost
we
got
have.
shot. We wiped the water off the floor together. We've done, you name it, we've done it. But you know what? I'd do it all over again.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, baby.
Hey, man, before we before we go, let these people know where they can get your book one more time, brother.
Hey, being Burt Watson, written by Burt Watson, now on Amazon. Please just go to Amazon.com, purchase 5 or 6 day delivery, please. It's a must read. If you don't know, now you know, baby.
Peace. I'm getting me one. I'm gonna get mine.
Peace.
I want mine autographed, baby. Bert,
Yes, sir.
it was an honor and a privilege for me to
Appreciate you,
bring
Don.
Paul.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to plug my book, Being Burt Watson. Please. It's a definite read.
Oh yeah.
Please.
Yeah, you'll trust me. If I could live with Bert in his back pocket, I would, because the stories are tremendous. But Bert, what I did today with Paul the Ultimate Vaden,
Yes, sir.
I did that because of all the years and the knowledge and the respect that you've given me. If I can't give my brother something special, then what good am I?
But you did it. And I appreciate you, baby.
All night long, baby.
All right, baby.
Bro.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Don. Appreciate it.
I love you. Tell the missus, wish her well. Well, we got an hour and a half out of Burt Watson, and that's almost a miracle. I love the man to death. You really got to go get his book because I know his stories. I'm sorry my voice ain't great. I think it's camera's backwards, but I don't know why you can see it, but they cut me from my Adam's apple all the way around this way, and then they went in through my throat, and they cut me there. But what am I going to get? I was still supposed to be in the hospital, but that didn't happen. But you know what? The world, like I said, the world don't stop for me. It ain't going to stop for me. And as long as I can bring some of the greatest people in this world on my show and share with you and let you guys ask questions that you guys always want to ask, I'm definitely going to. And man, my brother, he's blood, man. There ain't no other way to put it. I met Brian Holderson several years ago. He's a great interview as always. This man will tell me if my interview sucks. He'll tell me if it's great. He's always as honest as they can be. And I wouldn't want my life without him or many of you in this feed today. You know, I don't take money from my show, but wisdom is power. Sharing is even greater. So if you guys enjoyed today's show, give it a share. I don't take no money from my show. I don't charge nobody for my show. All I do is come on here and share what I can with you, the people that have helped create my walk. With that being said, Nate Wren says, the Nate Wren autobiography will be written by Don Mcguire and published by Jack Reese. So that'd be a hell of a book there, bro. But with that being said, I want to thank you guys all. You know, the world isn't always glamorous on this end. It's really not. They say work your ass off, become the greatest you can be. But you know, like Burt said, sometimes the floor is better. With that being said, God bless you, and you have a tremendous evening. I mean, you know what? I'm gonna throw a commercial in here for BYB because they do take care of me quite well. With that being said, have a good day and good night.
Saturday, August 10th, the Trigon travels to Atonement, South Florida, and lands once again inside the Charles F. Dodge Center for BYB 29. Brawl in the Pines 3. BYB Light Heavyweight Champion, Cub the Savage Hawkins, looks to defend his title against the Legacy of God, Gregory Cisneros. Super middleweight title contenders, Robert Cerna and Ryan Jet collide, plus Miami's own Robert Durant Jr. and Yuli Diaz look to bring their hometown crowd to its feet. Catch these great fights and much more. Visit BYBExtreme.com for tickets and information.
Peace. God bless you.